If you had to take a guess, what would you say is the leading cause of death in the United States of America? Would you guess that it's cancer, heart disease, fires, homicides, automobile accidents, drowning, food poisoning, suicides, drug and alcohol incidents, or natural causes? Well, if you guessed none of these, then you're on the right track. Stay tuned for the answer. Today's spiritual food for thought is entitled, The Number One Cause of Death in America. Before we dive in to answer the question at hand, let us take the time to examine the term death and observe its real meaning. According to standard dictionary definitions, death is most often described as the permanent and total cessation, that is, end, of life in an organism. Notice the words permanent and total. From cover to cover, God's Word would confirm this standard definition. Naturally speaking, death is not something temporary, nor is it the mere separation of one part from another. For example, a person's soul from his body. When a person dies, his or her breath leaves the body turns to dust, and then he or she ceases to exist as a person. At this point, the deceased escapes the dimension of time, and the next thing he or she will be aware of is the resurrection. To everyone else, still living and affected by time, the deceased person is in a type of sleep. It's as if the human brain and body are a computer with its various parts. Like computers, we humans sleep at night, which is temporary, and since the fall of man, there is unfortunately now a permanent sleep which we incur, which is also known as death. This is like the power to a computer being killed when its cord is unplugged. The computer becomes completely useless in terms of what it was originally created and designed for. However, all memory, information, and files remain on the computer in this extended sleep mode until the power is restored. Again, for human beings, this very moment of restoration is the resurrection. John chapter 5 verses 28 through 29 read, "Do not be amazed by this. The time is coming when all who are in their graves will hear his voice and come forth. Those who have done good to the resurrection of life, and those who have done evil to the resurrection of judgment." Back to the topic of death. The death that one should mostly be concerned about is the second death. This is when a person's entire being, that is, body, soul, life, spirit, breath, is cast into a consuming fire which no one but God can quench or put out. See Matthew 10:28 and Luke 3:17. Upon being completely destroyed by fire, the condemned will forever cease to exist and be as though they had never been. It is with this second death that there is no hope of resurrection or return. Now, question. Most everyone will sleep a first death, but why will so many die in the second death and consume away to be no more? Why will many receive the horrific punishment of being burned up by fire and made ashes? The answer is because so many suffer from the number one disorder in America, and in the world for that matter. This disorder is called disobedience. Another name for it is sin, and God's Word says that the wages of sin is death. Despite one's beliefs, all who continually disobey the Lord will die in the second death. In the beginning, it was Adam's sin and disobedience that brought death into this world. Following in his steps, mankind continually lives in sin to this day. Wars, rapes, murders, and even many diseases all come from man's sinful choices and are not God's will. To ensure a perfect world in this age, God could destroy each and every person who sins the very moment he or she breaks his laws, but he doesn't. If he did, who among us would remain? Who among us has never committed a sin? Throughout all of human history, God has set before mankind two choices, life and death. We don't have time in this short video to go over the nature of hell and whether or not there are people there now suffering and burning forever. The short answer for anyone wondering is, no, they're not. Again, from cover to cover, with the exception of God's resurrecting power, death in the Bible means death. In order for one to suffer forever, one would have to live forever. And there is no such thing as everlasting life in hell, nor never-ending death, or dying forever. And the whole reason Yeshua suffered and died was to defeat death. Again, God has always given two choices, and it's always been life or death. Life or death. So if you're out there preaching something else other than this, please just stop. Just stop. And if you've been a victim of these teachings, or the one true God has been made out to be Satan himself, torturing his creations for all eternity simply because he has no other choice, then my sincere apologies for such a gross misrepresentation of the Judeo-Christian faith. If you have anything to add or ask about this topic, please don't hesitate to use the comment section below the video. One day, the Lord will return and make all things clear. In the meantime, be blessed.